Well, for many years, teen pregnancy rates just kept going up, but a new report out today says teen pregnancy is actually on the decline. It's gone down about 6% since 2009. Some experts are saying shows like MTV's 16 and Pregnant have actually played a role in that decline. 82% of teenagers who watch the show say it helps them understand the struggles of teenage motherhood. And joining me now in studio here to talk about this downward trend is Jan Parman, Director of Bethany Christian Services in Grand Rapids, and thank you so much for joining us.
You're welcome.
So it's a TV show, but somehow this is actually resonating with teens. Have you seen that?
Very much so, with both the young ladies as well as some of our older parents that are coming in and trying to make decisions about pregnancy and what they want to do. They've seen the program, they can identify with persons that are there, and it's helped them to rethink through what they're going to do and even decisions about whether they're going to be sexually active.
Okay.
Wow, so it might have even changed some of their habits or the ways.
Exactly.
Okay. Can I go back out to the room? What's this case? This little buddy. Damn. Yeah. Okay. Our main question is the female teen pregnancy proportion in Alabama higher in 1980 than in 2010 within the ages of 15 through 19? Okay, why we only did it in Alabama because we needed a smaller testing population. Okay. And we only got data from females who are the ages 15 to 19.
We think that the teen pregnancy rate ages 15 to 19 in Alabama in the year 1980 has a larger proportion than in 2010 by at least 10%. And we received that information from the CDC, Hawaii.edu, and HHS.gov.
In 1980, a sample of 2,000 females ages 15 through 19 in Alabama was taken. 11.6 of those females were pregnant.
So that was around 232 females out of 2,000 were pregnant in the year of 1980 in Alabama.
Okay, now remember this percentage. In 2010, 3.25% from a sample of 2,000 teens ages 15 through 19 were pregnant in Alabama. So our hypothesis was right. In 1980, the pregnancy rate was higher than it is today,
which was a 8.35% difference. In 1980, it was 232 out of 2,000, and in 2010, it was 65 out of 2,000.
According to data from the Center of Disease Control, the percentage of teen pregnancies from ages 15 through 19 in Alabama was higher. Let's reiterate what you said. Was higher than it was in 2010. In over 2 decades, this percentage has dropped by 8.35%.
Society thinks that teen pregnancies of 15 to 19-year-olds were at least 10% higher in 1980 than it was in 2010. So we did our test on what is the true proportion of difference of teen pregnancies in 1980 and 2010. Does the study provide significant evidence that pregnancies reduced between 1980 and 2010 in Alabama? Our null hypothesis was P1 equals P2, and our alternative was P1 is greater than P2. And P1 stands for 1980 proportion of teen pregnancies in ages 15 through 19, and P2 is 2010 proportion of teen pregnancies 15 through 19.
And this is actually worked out the Prop Z test.
And our p-value was 7.53 and the little negative 24, like scientific notation. So it was 24 to the left of the decimal. And it was around the 7 of 2000, and all of our conditions were met for normality and independence. And that was our Z-score. So reject the whole or not. We reject our whole or null hypothesis that the proportion of teen pregnancies ages 15 through 19 in 1980 is equal to the proportion of teen pregnancies ages 15 through 19 in 2010. We reject it because it was low and the If the p-value is low, we reject.
Okay, do we have any questions?
Yes.
So at the beginning of your research, you discussed the fact that just looking at the percentage of pregnancies, there was an 8.35% decrease. Why is looking at the percentages not enough to determine if that's significant in decrease? Why did I have to run the test?
Okay. That is not, you said why is it not significant?
So why does the 8.3%, why is that not enough
It's
to
more
tell if that's
accurate
significant?
It's more accurate than just subtracting the percentages.
Okay, great. And then my last question is, so you told me what happened with my null hypothesis, right? You said that we were going to reject it, right? Because that they're equal to each other, that the pregnancy rates were equal to each other. But what does that mean about my alternative hypothesis? Do I have evidence to support that or not?
Yes, we do have evidence to support that our alternative hypothesis is true, because the P1, which was 1980, was indeed higher than our P2, which was the proportion in 2010.
Okay. And why were you interested in conducting this research in the first place?
Because our older generations and stuff like that usually ridicule our generation, but we actually found out that their generation was worse off than ours.
And so many people say our generation has grown up too fast. Like you see, we assume that it's more common for teenagers to be pregnant now than it was then. So that's why we chose this study to see and to prove people wrong that our generation is not as bad as you make it seem.
Because statistics doesn't lie.
No.
And how might we apply your research to future questions about teen pregnancy rates? How might we apply your individual study to be more generalized across the U.S.?
We put that in our research paper, like how we could improve the study for future references and stuff like that. We could actually do a larger study because our study only came from Alabama, so we could do a larger study and include more females, and we could have record more conditions, like what was their race, what is their living condition if they had two parents in the home, and their level of education.
And they also could take our study and like use it in other countries as well to see, okay, if it's like this in the United States, because the United States has more, resources than they, like we have birth control, we have access to hospitals, we have access to contraceptions, whereas in other countries they don't have it as readily as we do. So they could use our study in Alabama along with the United States to compare it to Africa or Asia and other countries around the world.
Okay. And how do you think? Why do you think the percentages in 1980 were so much higher at a significant level than the level in 2010? What do you think has caused the decrease?
Technology.
Yes,
Technology.
and our generation is more open and things like that. Like a child who was an adolescent in the year 1980 is not that accessible to free condoms like we are at a clinic or birth control and things like that because of their sense of morality. But our generation is more open to it. That's why we can prevent it more.
Yes. And new advances in technology and healthcare, and now they have different stuff like Medicare. People, even from poor to rich, can find it more readily than they could back then.
Awesome. Any questions from the audience?
Yeah.
Wonderful. Excellent job.